Hey, welcome to the Solution Point, where we talk about solutions for your life, your business, and the law. And so, welcome back, everybody. Hope you've been enjoying our new content. So, let me go ahead and introduce my friend, Nathaniel. Nathaniel, why don't you introduce yourself and tell everybody a little bit about who you are, what you do, and we'll get on with the pod.
Yeah, thanks, Mike, for having me. I'm excited to be with you here today and look forward to our time. So, my name is Nathaniel Eisler Williams. I am a pastor, a licensed health advisor, the husband to Shelly, the father to Kyla, Mercedes, Manuel, and Alex. I'm an avid grill master and smoker in my free time and enjoy sports, and just excited to be with you here today.
All right. Well, thanks, Nathaniel. Why don't I know that you and I are part of a networking group, and so we've gotten to know each other, and I know you have a lot of great solutions. I don't think we're going to talk about grilling solutions, but we may need to do that on another episode. But
Absolutely.
tell me about a problem that you want to share with us that you have a solution for.
Right. Yeah. Great question. As a health advisor, what I do is, and I really want to make sure that we distinguish this, right? That I'm not a salesman. Yes, sure, I get compensated, for my work, but what I have really found that I enjoy doing, and that I am best at doing is just helping people understand the ins and outs of health insurance. There are just so many different avenues and so many different lanes in which that you can go in, and people necessarily don't like talking about insurance. And the thing is that any type of insurance, you hope to not have to use it. But when you you need it to be able to work well. You need it to be able to work efficiently, and that you have a clear understanding as to how it's going to work. And so for me, I help people, small business owners, those that are self employed, those that want other options outside of the health marketplace to be able to navigate those things. So it could be where you've got a small business of one employee to 49 employees. Maybe you've got a family that you're just like, you know what, we're really healthy and we don't go to the doctor a lot. We don't like to go to the doctor a lot. Is there a health plan out there that we could partake, have a lower monthly premium, and these different avenues? And I help cultivate that and truly build a package that fits you and your family. I think corporate plans and plans that you get through your employer are great in a lot of ways because your employers may be paying a pretty hefty percentage of it, but they're also having to group you in there from that 26-year-old out of college, maybe out of grad school, with that 60-year-old that's out close to retirement. You have different health needs, and so sometimes everyone gets put in one box. And what I help do is, now I'm going to put you in your own box, and I'm going to let you deal with your issues and your problems and your successes. Right? There's healthcare out there that rewards you for being healthy, that rewards you for living a healthy lifestyle. And I think that everyone doesn't know that, and so I try to help educate people in doing that.
And my wife used to work in healthcare. She worked for Mercy Health Plans. She worked for Molina Healthcare. And one of the things that she would share with me is in Mercy Health Plans, they were self-insured, so they had a really, really sick risk pool. A lot of people with diabetes, a lot of people with a lot of other chronic conditions that increase the cost. So it just made it so much more expensive. And like it's exactly like what you say. If you have a bunch of sick people in your plan, well, they're going to be using it more, so it's going to be more expensive. So a healthy person in that plan it doesn't make a lot of sense for them because they're like, man, I'm paying for premiums like if I was, on, 3 or 4 different medicines all the time and I go to the doctor every month where, they're in the gym, they're healthy, they never see the doctor unless they have to. So I think this is a great option for people who have a more healthy lifestyle. And I think it's great that there's companies that are catering to that because it's a lot easier to stay healthy than to treat those chronic conditions.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it also just works from a percentage of, if we talk specifically about the marketplace, where those plans are based on your zip code and based on your income. Now, every insurance out there is going to be based on your zip code because just of different state and federal laws. But as far as your income, especially for a small business owner, and Mike, you would know this, to try to guess what you're going to make at the end of 2025 for all of 2026, that, especially if you're new, a new business, that's really hard to do.
Yep.
And so it's one of those where if you guess too little and you actually are successful, which we all want to be, right? Then you are paying a tax penalty. So it's like, hey, congratulations, you made more money than you were supposed to. Give me more money. Doesn't make much sense, Or if you, guess way too high, it's like, oh, well, then no, you don't qualify for a subsidy. Well, wait a minute, I don't know that I'm going to make that, and so it just gives that option. And then there's also just the protection of maybe I'm not the healthiest, but I'm in a field where I only get paid for when I work, right? Maybe I'm a mechanic, maybe I'm a landscaper. And so if I have an injury where, thank God I don't die, but, maybe I lose a finger, or maybe I'm in the hospital for a long time and I don't really want to use all the health insurance. Well, there's packages there that we can actually get you money for staying in the hospital, for a very low, like a $250 deductible for up to $20,000 in accident coverage. So, like you're saying, yes, there's so many different ways and packages that we can help cater to, and things that I didn't know. Even growing up in the just common management corporate industry. But now, my hope and what I enjoy doing is educating people for them to be able to know, hey, there's a lot out there. You just need a person that you can trust that will listen to you and your needs and then be able to give you your options. And to be honest with you.
Yeah, and that's kind of the important thing is developing that trust relationship, that you can talk to somebody and they're gonna give it to you straight, and they're gonna tell you, look, for your situation, you're gonna need these things. Hey, you just had a baby. You're going to have a lot of doctor visits. You need to make sure that you've got that coverage. Yeah, we can get you a cheap plan, but you're going to be paying out of pocket every time. And unfortunately, what that does is it creates the opportunity to say, well, maybe we can, instead of going every month for these first 12 months, maybe we'll skip a month in between. And then you wind up with a sick baby in the hospital. Then you wind up with other situations that you wind up paying for long term, that if you just kept up with it on the regular, you would be in a much better place. Your kids would be in a much better place. And then vice versa, the gym rat, they don't do anything but work out and go to work. They may have an opportunity to get a much better plan that maybe gives them a better deal because they're in the gym, that pays for their gym membership. And these are just things that I've heard from you when we've chatted about different, hey, we've got all kinds of different plans that, depending on your lifestyle, where you fit in, you can find the thing that benefits you the best.
I've got a couple, young gym rats, on a plan that they're like, Nathaniel, I really don't want to pay for a full health insurance plan, right? I'm 26. I'm working out 3-4 times a week. I'm counting macros and, weighing my food and, all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, hey, I get it. I said, but, and we had this where a guy, tore his rotator cuff, lifting weights, and We had him on just a small individual package, and so he had a small deductible, but then he was able to get some coverage, and it's paying about what he pays a month in his gym membership, and probably less once he puts the gym membership and all the supplements together. He's paying less than that, and he called me up and he said, "Man, thank you so much. This was perfect." Yeah, I had a hospital bill, but I don't see myself going back, doing it again. And I had this coverage that made it being, catastrophic, this huge bill that I was never going to get out of. I had at least something there. And so, yeah, you're exactly right. Where we can package it for everyone, everyone involved.
Yeah, and a lot of times people don't understand that insurance isn't necessarily something that is supposed to pay for all of your stuff. Isn't like, hey, I have a headache, insurance, give me an aspirin. It's for the emergencies, the unexpected things. That's what the insurance is for. Is, hey, I didn't know I was going to get, like, I think earlier today we were talking to somebody who was asking about cancer. You get cancer, and that kind of is potentially expensive outcome to fight it. It's you've got surgeries, you've got radiation, you've got chemo. Plus, on top of that, you get knocked down from some of those treatments to where you can't just go back to work the next day
Right.
and you're ready to go. You've got a lot of things that are affecting you, but you've got to have kind of a policy that's going to cover those big emergencies, but not necessarily every headache and sneeze and sniffle.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes, that's very well said and very true. And so yes, I mean there's packages that I think that everyone in America should have or have something like that to be able to do exactly just that. Like even if they already have, a company sponsored health insurance plan, get something that's independent because whether that company folds, whether you lose that job, whether you do have a cancer treatment, and truth be told, as much as a company, you can be with a company for 25 years and you're the best employee, they're going to have somebody crunching numbers that says, hey, we've been paying for this insurance for the last 5 years and we've got no productivity out of this guy. Just bottom line, we need to cut him. And
Yeah.
that's horrible, but it happens, and it
Yep.
happens a lot. So to
Yep.
have something on the outside that's completely independent from that can really save you and your family a lot of heartache.
Yeah, and I guess part of what you do is you can also analyze supplemental type insurance, like I guess kind of, and I guess Aflac is one of those type of things where you have the employer pays this, but you want to have something else to cover like your deductibles and those things.
Right. Yes. No. There's definitely packages like that. Kind of the things that I offer. But so yes, if you have an Aflac plan, I can definitely look at that and analyze that for you. We have a stronger package. We like to call it the Executive Diamond, because honestly, if you're going through a hard time, do you really want a duck to be able to help you, or would you rather me give you a diamond? Right?
Yeah.
There's gonna be.
And
That's how we kind of look at it. But absolutely.
and Nathaniel, don't get me wrong. I'm not sponsoring
Oh, I
any
know.
particular one. That's just the first one. They have a lot. They're really good at marketing.
They're extremely good at marketing. They're extremely good at marketing. Anytime you can get Nick Saban and Deion Sanders in a commercial together, that's prime television for sure.
With a trained duck.
With a trained duck, absolutely.
Yeah. Nathaniel, thank you so much. I appreciate your solutions. I think a lot of people in our audience, I think you've opened up a light bulb, because I think a lot of people think, well, I either have what my employer provides or I've got marketplace, and that's it. A lot of times neither of those really fits the person. So I'm glad that you provide a good solution and a resource for that. I'm gonna, as we get closer to the end of the pod, the next segment is, tell me a little bit about a core value that you use in your life to make decisions, and kind of share it and unpack it with our audience.
Right. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think there's two, Mike, that I really
Sure.
have for me. One is integrity, right? Of just being honest. I had someone in our group call me and say, hey, I've got a good insurance policy. I think, when you take a look at it, this is, what's going on with my family. This is where we are, and so I happily did it, or whatever. And I told him, I said, hey, you're kind of in a good spot. You probably can stay here for another 2-3 years, maybe 5, depending on how everything lays out. And so, as much as sure that could have been a sale for me, but again, going back to what I said in the beginning, I'm an advisor, and so I advised, no, keep doing what you're doing, keep staying right here, because integrity is everything. If we can't trust, if we can't build that rapport, then what do we really have? And then I'd say the second core value is just impact. My desire is to make my community, make my neighborhoods, my state, my country a better place. And so it is a joyful blessing to be able to get that text message of, hey, we went to the doctor, we heard this news, we're so grateful for this coverage. Or, hey, we had this accident, and yeah, we had to fill out this form, but man, we got a check in the mail for $15,000, and that's going to cover my husband from being out of work, for the next 3 months while he recovers. And if we didn't have this, we don't know what we would be able to do. We'd have to put out a second mortgage or whatever it might be. So integrity and impact. I don't want to just go through life just existing. I want to make a difference. I had someone, I was listening to a podcast, and someone said, the impact you've had on someone's life or a community's life by how many years after they're still talking about you after you die. And so not just my kids, not just my family, but, for generations to be able to know whether we bought a health insurance plan or not, he was honest with me and he made a difference in my life.
To just kind of plus one on that, a lot of times it's the thing that we doing it with the knowledge that I may never know who winds up benefiting. It's kind of one of the things, I'm a Rotarian, and one of the things that we say in Rotary is a lot of times Rotarians will plant trees that they'll never sit under. Will develop water wells that they'll never drink from. And it's these things that don't happen from one day to the next, but you do something, and if you're lucky, you may in 20 years see an amazing impact. As a Scoutmaster, I have 2 of my Eagle Scouts from our troop that are attorneys now in Laredo. And so it's neat to have them as colleagues when they were Scouts and they became Eagles. And I got to see these guys develop, and I know the character that they have.
Absolutely.
So, like you said, a lot of times you don't see it until time. But if you live long enough, get old like me, you'll get to see some of the fruits of your labor and the impact that it can have.
Right, absolutely.
So Nathaniel, if somebody wants to kind of have you look at what their insurance looks like, see how you can provide that service, say, hey, look, you've got too much of this, and maybe you need to taper this down and focus more on this. If somebody wants to run that by through you or just take on or hire you on for your services, what's the best way that they can go ahead and reach out to you and get connected with you so you can provide them your services?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I'm literally on the phone all day long. So giving me a phone call at 512-585-0615, or they can find me on social media, Nathaniel Eisler Williams. I'm not on TikTok. I feel like I'm a little too old to be on TikTok, but LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, I'm not all that, apparently. But that, and then, email nathaniel.eichlerwilliams@ushadvisors.com. Any of those ways, with the last name like Eisler Williams, I'm pretty easy to search and find out.
All right, sounds good. Well, I really appreciate the time you've shared with us and all the insights. I think this has really opened up. It gave me a lot. I know we've talked, and I kind of had an idea of what you do, but how in depth you're able to go, it's very impressive. It's very eye opening. I think a lot of our audience is going to be like, oh man, I wish I'd known Nathaniel 3 years ago. Would have saved a lot of money. So hopefully you'll get some people reaching out to you. And to our audience out there, you know what to do. Hit the like, the subscribe, hit all those buttons that you need to for wherever you listen to this podcast or wherever you watch the podcast. And until next time, keep following us and keep an ear out for the solutions for your life, your business, and the law. Until next time, guys. Thanks.